Biggest question I've gotten since I started the pressure washing company is how in the world do I manage my time efficiently between all the different businesses to make sure that each one of them gets the support they need from me while simultaneously being able to push forward in each one as well? The answer is So the biggest step in attempting to manage a lot of things is you have to be diligent with making sure that you don't forget to put things in your calendar. One of the things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners do is they kind of get in this mindset of I can do a lot of things at once and I'm good at multitasking, and so what happens is they'll hear that they need to have a filming this date or schedule this date, and they eventually get to hoping that they remember to put on their calendar or have the right things in place to make that happen. So I have kind of a couple different fail safes, in one of those being that Allison makes sure that she always looks over anything that comes in from a client request to make sure that anything from scaling creative perspective in terms of filming dates, edit dates, and all those things go through her as well as me. If I'm supposed to be the one filming it, obviously they get put on my calendar, and if they come to me directly and not to Allison just for whatever reason, I make sure that I put them on the calendar immediately, or I make sure that she sees them to make sure they get put on my calendar. Because I'm one of those people, if it's on my calendar, it will get done. But in the midst of running around and doing a lot of things, sometimes you'll get a quick email or a quick text or something from someone about specific date for something. It could be little, it could be big. If I don't immediately address that either it gets put in my calendar or that someone is going to put in my calendar, that's how things get forgotten. The last thing you want to do in trying to manage a lot of different companies is to let them all be neglected, and then all your clients for all the companies are having things missed and not done at the standard you want them to. That looks bad. The only way I ever suggest that people can actually try to do side hustles or start to build other businesses is to make sure that you really have the right things in place on each business so you actually have any chance of making it happen. That's what I'm doing today, executing on what's on my daily calendar, because really that's how I go, day by day right now. Okay, so it's just before 10 a.m. We are just headed over now to the church to film something. We have a 10:30 filming. So I mentioned this in a video a few months back about what apps I use on my phone, like calendar apps, reminders apps, and all those things. And I kind of work simultaneously. I won't go into it in depth like I did last time, but I use a calendar app, obviously, that's always going to schedule out what I'm actually doing in that specific day. But then I also keep an app called Things, which really is my daily, what's my most important things that I have to do today that aren't necessarily a schedule thing. For example, I have something on my thing that is about calling the Ford dealership to ask about something I need for a new truck that I purchased. That's not something I'm going to put on my calendar, but it's a task I need to make sure that I get done. So I use those kind of hand in hand so that when I'm doing things like driving, for example, if I know that I have a half-hour drive, I look at my tasks to get a feel for what type of things do I have on my task list that could I possibly complete them while I'm driving, safely of course, but I'm not going to edit when I'm driving, but phone calls or meetings or certain things I need to check in on, I will use this time as productively as possible. I don't want to have to use my time, if possible, since I have very limited, to just sit down at my computer and have a meeting. If I know that I can accomplish a lot of what I need to accomplish in the car while driving, I'm going to do that. Kill two birds with one stone, stay productive. So I have a lot of random meetings that I tend to schedule during that time, and it works out pretty well. If you have too many things on a task list, they don't get done because it's overwhelming. So you have to get better at looking at a task list and saying, I have 15 things I need to do. Well, the reality is you're not going to do 15 things. What 3 things do you really need to do? And then go from there. Number 1 is coffee. Your window shot that you requested.
Oh, I like that.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I like our hair's all lit up. It's pretty.
Okay.
I like that. Thank you.
Shoot went great. Headed home now to the home office. We don't spend too much time anymore in the downtown office, so it's really just my home, and then Allison and Ben either work from home or with me, depending on what we're doing. So Allison is going to come over now and we're going to work on some details and get her all this footage. That's probably one of the most difficult parts with this whole thing right now, is we're constantly out and about, so we still have to get footage back and forth, but because she's kind of permanently working from home and we are too, the footage transfer thing is a little bit more difficult. And unfortunately, the internet in my house is nowhere near the caliber that I wish it was, unfortunately. So uploading everything is not quite as easy as it was from the office, but you make it work. Even though I really do miss this place. It's so lonely and quiet here, and even the plants are dead. Poor plants. So yeah, this is my kind of office that I spend most of the time in now when I am in the office at all. I rarely go to Allentown office anymore. We kind of have moved a bunch of stuff actually from the office to here, so I have like all my SD card import things here, and Allison has a lot of the hard drives at her house, and really all that's at the office is really fast internet and some empty desks right now. So it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to have anyone at the office. So we really just meet up every couple of days now, or every day depending on what's actually being filmed, just so she can actually collect footage from that. I'll usually import all this stuff myself to my computer, and then we'll just transfer the library to an SSD that she brings. And then we always keep in touch constantly through Slack and Voxer and a bunch of different stuff in terms of what needs to be done where. And that's the big factor that plays into this whole thing, is having someone that really can keep things unbelievably organized so that I can stay unbelievably organized in the best way possible. Details are not my favorite thing ever, oddly enough. I really like details, but meaning because I'm doing so many things all the time, it's very easy for me to forget about things and forget about little tiny things that can be missed. Things like deadlines for when edits need to be made, or shoots, or responding to someone, or whatever. Those things really can fall apart when I'm in charge of them. So Allison does a phenomenal job of being able to keep track of what's actually due, and then she can determine whether or not she's able to complete the things herself, whether or not I need to do some things, whether Ben needs to do some things, and she kind of really controls mostly all of my schedule, to be honest, in the manner that if she needs me for editing, if she needs Ben for editing, we are available for editing and we'll be scheduled to do editing and nothing else. She's really good at being able to manage a lot of the stuff herself, but at the same time, we obviously are here to assist and to make that happen efficiently. Luckily, she's outstanding at those kind of things, and man, her details and her logistics side of things is a part of my brain that does not even exist. And just like that, we are headed to an oddly satisfying job. So this is one of those situations where I looked at my calendar in advance, knew I only had a short window of when I could potentially do jobs, which is the trickiest part right now with a pressure washing company, because really the biggest limitation to jobs is more whether I'm available to do them, since it's currently kind of me and Ben doing them, and obviously we have other things to do. So I kind of turn on marketing / turn on potential appointments when I know I can do them, which is today, Wednesday, after lunch. That's when I scheduled a job. So slowly trying to make my way into having someone be able to be more actively running this company and being able to do the job, so that I can kind of confidently always actually take on jobs and not feel like I can only do them once or twice a week. Also, you might notice that I'm in like a different truck. I got a new truck for Oddly Satisfied. It's not wrapped yet, so that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully you'll see it fully wrapped, but I wanted to buy another truck for the company because I wanted to be able to have a truck that I could just basically use for that and that only, and not feel like I constantly have to take all this stuff out of the truck to go to a job and then take it all back out to go to Scaling Creative job or go do other things. So my main truck now, the one I have, is my main everyday truck, and then this one now will be solely for this company, which is also great because as I hire more people, they now have a truck that they would drive the jobs, and I don't have to feel like I don't have a vehicle and they have to use mine. It was an investment. I felt like it was worth it. Just the advertising alone from a wrapped vehicle in a service-based industry is just, it's a no-brainer. The $400 or $500 a month that you spend on a potential loan or a lease of a vehicle for anything, but having it wrapped and driving around and getting thousands of eyeballs on what this company is invaluable. I think one of the most important things to realize when it comes to juggling a bunch of things is that you have to make sure that even though you're juggling a lot of things, that you're still supporting people that are simultaneously helping you run the other things. So what you didn't see in today is in between the filming and what I had to do with the pressure washing, I met with Allison, who really does all our scheduling and makes sure that tasks and edits and everything are getting completely done, and making sure that if there's anything she needs from me that I know, and is there anything I need to be aware of from a deadline perspective. Because what can be easy, I think, is for people to kind of feel like they're being left abandoned on an island. If you do have some employees and you're bouncing around a bunch of different things, but you put all of your excitement and all of your time into the new venture, completely neglecting everything else, not only does that not look good from a client perspective, but it also doesn't look good to your employees if they feel like you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to do my own thing. If you need me, call me. Like, you need to make sure that you're really supporting them. So even though I don't have a huge team, it's important that I'm checking in with, Allison in this case. If she's at the house editing and working on stuff, I don't want to just basically not touch base for days on end just because I have things going on. Like, I have to make sure that I intentionally put time into my calendar to make sure that I'm calling to see how things are going, to see what she needs me to do. And that takes priority. Like, it takes priority for me right now, scaling creative, because that still is my main income. That still is my main business. And I want my clients to know that I still have their back. I want to make sure that if I suddenly had a ton of filming and a ton of editing that had to be completed these next couple of days, I basically would just do nothing for Wildly Satisfying. Now, that's why I want to obviously hire people, so that doesn't have to happen. But I want to really stress how important that is, that you don't make your people feel abandoned, because you don't want to just move on to the next thing and let the other thing go, and then people feel like they're kind of like, well, nice to know you. From a client perspective, it's also super important, because the last thing they want is to feel like you have moved on from caring about what they actually hired you for, especially in scaling creative, where obviously I'm still a big face of scaling creative, and a lot of people come and hire scaling creative because of content they saw from me. So I can't just abandon them. Now, they know from day one when I set things up that I'm not always the face they're going to see. They know that there's going to be other people filming, other people editing, but it's important that I'm still actively involved in different areas of the business. No question. I cannot just move on entirely. And that even goes for like the way that I put out content. Like, they need to see kind of that I'm still actively involved in those things, because it's like, if I were to hire someone who I really believed had a phenomenal product, and then they just suddenly here announcing my new venture, and I never saw anything again from the other company that I hired, I wonder like how much they care anymore, and is that also going to translate to their employees? Give the effort that you want people to give back to what you're trying to build. Even if it's a lot of things, you still got to give your 100% each time that you're doing it, or people won't do it for you. That's it. Now I'm just headed back to the house, spend some time with the family for a couple of hours. Honestly, I don't even know what my plans are for tonight. I don't always work at night. There are some nights I work more at the house after the kids go to bed, depending on what my wife's doing, if she's going out with friends or if she's watching movies. And I know that one of the ways that she's refreshed and what she really enjoys is actually sometime just by herself watching TV and watching crazy shows that I have no interest in. So we have a very good agreement of like, when she's doing certain things, she completely is okay with me just going downstairs and working more, and that's totally fine with me as well. We obviously don't want to always do that. We try to make sure we spend some time together, but there are times that I'll go back in the office and then I'll go, downstairs and I'll work on things again for scaling creative, or I'll be having meetings with wedding clients, or I'll be just sending quotes for pressure washing. It's just a little bit of everything. Sometimes that can be the most stressful, because when you're talking about the maintenance side, the admin side of all the businesses, that's the part that gets difficult. It's not difficult for me to have to schedule myself to film, have to schedule myself to edit, have to schedule myself to do a pressure washing job. But all the things that go into actually making those businesses run, like email back and forth to clients and bills and invoices, and making sure invoices are getting paid, and making sure payroll is getting paid, and taxes are happening, and all the other stuff, and making sure that everything else is still going, that's